North Korea is one of the most restrictive countries on planet Earth. What exactly is going to happen then when you take a group of North Korean soldiers and move them into a European country like Russia? Just what are they doing with their newfound freedom, and why is it exactly what you would expect? And most importantly, what effect is this going to have on the front lines? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. Okay, so let's see if I can get away with this, because YouTube won't let me say certain words in the first minute. But these, according to at least one credible rumor, North Korean soldiers, now that they have deployed to Russia, have been using their newfound access to the internet to view adult content. That's right, because remember, the North Koreans block basically all access to the internet, and if you think a North Korean soldier has a cell phone, you're crazy. So imagine then when they come to Russia, and as we've pointed out in this channel, the cell phone is not just a useful device for playing mobile games. It's actually essential for battlefield communication in this war, right? Soldiers will use their cell phones to communicate with their higher command. They will often use them to take pictures or video. So it can be a very, very important tool in combat operations. That means that North Korean soldiers are expected to have them. Maybe not every one of them, but they're certainly not being restricted. And someone has told them that they can search for adult video. So imagine if you are in your as late as your 30s, and for the first time you have access to the full suite of internet pornography. Well, what's happened is apparently exactly what you would expect. North Korean soldiers who are already kind of malnourished and beaten down, for the first time have access to unlimited vice. And this is actually like pretty messed up, because you have to think, guys, that for most like adults in the real world now, they've had years to get used to having access to porn in their pocket. But these poor North Koreans, they've never seen a cell phone before. And now they're seeing unbelievable, just utterly degenerate porn, right? The actual reporting is, quote, "A reliable source tells me that North Korean soldiers who have deployed to Russia have never had unfettered access to the internet before, and the first thing they did, of course, was gorge themselves on pornography," right? And now here's the question. Despite the best intentions, there have been some reports of friendly fire from North Koreans on Russians. Again, what we would call that in the U.S., we call it a blue on green incident. Now, before we talk about this longer term impact on the battlefield, what I wanted to mention is, of course, if you feel like you need to lock in and get focused, hopefully you're not a North Korean soldier on the internet. I can't help you guys there. I think, the algorithms can manipulate all of our brains, but boy, the North Koreans have another thing coming. But for you guys who are living in the real world, you might need a little extra caffeine, right? Maybe you're an energy drink guy. Well, I'm here to tell you that you need to leave energy drinks in the past and pick up some Strike Gum. With 90 milligrams of caffeine, 100 milligrams of alpha GPC, zero sugar, veteran-owned, made in the USA, it's the no-brainer. Listen, it's not 2006 anymore. Energy drinks, leave them behind. They taste like cough medicine. They're loaded with sugar. You don't even know what's in them. Strike Gum, totally different story, right? And go to strikegum.com, pick some up. We're also the highest rated energy gum on Amazon, so you can just go to Amazon and plug it in and pick up your Strike Gum, right? Join the thousands of people that have left energy drinks behind with Strike Gum. The link's in the description. Okay. So here's what I want to point out is that this is emblematic of a larger series of problems for the North Koreans. Because North Korea is one of the most sanctioned countries on earth and one of the most poor, impoverished countries on earth, what you have is actually a pretty dangerous kind of amalgamation. It's one of the jokes, right? It used to be a joke on the internet a couple of years ago that you would destroy the brain of a medieval peasant if he listened to a modern rap song, or you gave him one Doritos Cool Ranch Dorito, right? And it's funny to think about, but it's also a little true, right? Is that human beings, we're not our brains aren't especially special, right? We are hardwired for certain things. And one of the things that happens in the modern world is kind of this arms race of hedonism, right? And you can set, a baseline for what you expect to have in the world. And again, for almost, I'm going to say probably about 20 years, widely available adult content is just something that exists in the world, right? You can't scroll on TikTok for more than 15 minutes and not get some racy content put in your face. But we are just used to it, right? And so our brains have the ability, I think, to switch a little bit more. Similarly with food, right? For us, we're just used to living in a world where, fast food is pervasive. High calorie dense food is everywhere. Imagine, again, this is as close as you can get to actually bringing a medieval peasant into the modern world, right? So let me see if I can find it here. Let's see. Okay. So there was a North Korean defector, here we go, in about 2017 who defected to the South. And when he underwent his medical exam, they found some pretty frightening things. They found that he had parasitic worms in his intestines. And this is something that just doesn't exist in the modern world. This is something that you would expect. Even most dogs in the United States and Europe are not subject to, don't have parasitic worms in their guts, right? You're right. Some were up to 11 inches long. Their worms were likely roundworms who were found in soil that in countries that use human waste as fertilizer, right? That's a pretty common pathogenic sort of life cycle, is to enter the waste of an animal and then re-enter when the animal eats near the waste. So this reflects an absolutely unbelievable level of nutritional and hygiene and healthcare failure within North Korea. So again, these guys, for the first time, are going to have access to rich food, right? Like if you've seen Russian rations, they're actually quite rich. They're very, very fat heavy because Russian rations are designed for cold weather combat. They're very, very calorie dense. So this is probably one of the first times these soldiers are going to get 2,000 calories a day sustainably for as long as they stay alive. It's also probably one of the first times they're going to receive a decent quality medical exam. And if they get hurt, the first time they're probably going to receive actual medicine. Again, if this is true, that this North Korean soldier, this was 5 years ago, has had parasitic roundworms, guys, it is extremely cheap in the rest of the world, not just the developed world, the rest of the world, to treat intestinal parasites. It is literally like a generic, easily treatable pill that you take if they don't get that bad. So the fact that they don't have access to this likely says that almost all other conditions are not being managed, right? Who knows the state these North Korean soldiers came in. I would love to talk to a Russian doctor and just to see how many chronic conditions, untreated injuries, ongoing infections, things that in the rest of the world we treat with a perfunctory visit to a doctor or a stop at a pharmacy. Now, will all of these things cumulatively have an effect on the battlefield? For sure, guys. For sure. The reason I say that is because, again, soldiers, to perform at a high level, need to be physically fit. They have to have the ability to focus. And in some ways, when you have this world full of distractions, right, we are used to the fact that, I can work with my cell phone right next to me. But imagine if I had never seen a cell phone before. Would I literally be able to focus? I don't know. So I think this actually will impact the combat readiness of the North Koreans. But we're going to keep you posted as we learn more. And huge thank you to the Colonel tier members like James Sterling, Steve Moran, Doug Beck, Alan Knutson, Bastian Himmerling, Brian Kelly, Dale McCombs, James Ola, and Henry Roussier, as well as all of our Lieutenant tier members. I could not do this without you guys. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.